Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle the single biggest challenge for any UPSC aspirant, and that's turning that daily flood of news into actual high-scoring exam answers. We're going to give you a solid method to connect headlines directly to your syllabus, so you're not just, passively reading the news, you're actively preparing for the exam.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with our deconstruction method. Then we're going to apply it to three really crucial topics, one from GS2 Polity, another from GS3 Technology, and one from GS1 Society. And then at the very end, we'll hand the reins over to you with a practice question to really sharpen those skills. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, our method is simple, but trust me, it's powerful. For any piece of news, first, we identify the main event. Second, we link it straight back to its foundation in the static syllabus. Third, and this is important, we spot a potential pitfall, a trap for the prelims. And finally, we look at its application in a main-style question. So, event, foundation, pitfall, application. Let's see how it works.
First up, let's jump into GS2 Polity, where there's been a major development. The Supreme Court has just made a landmark declaration that has absolutely huge implications for governance and, of course, for our fundamental rights.
Let this number sink in for a second. 30%. A staggering 30% of all road deaths in India happen on our national highways, even though they make up just about 2% of our entire road network. It's this shocking imbalance that really forced the Supreme Court to step in.
So here's the event. After a series of really tragic accidents, the Supreme Court took up the issue on its own. That's what suo moto means. The court said the state has a positive mandate. What does that mean? It means it's not enough for the state to just not harm you. It has a duty to actively provide a safe environment. And to put teeth into this, it immediately banned new commercial buildings along highways that were making traffic conditions more dangerous.
And here we go. This is where we build that bridge to the core syllabus. The entire foundation for this ruling is Article 21. Now you know this article has evolved from just a simple right to life into the bedrock of what we often call judicial activism. It's now interpreted to mean the right to a dignified life, a life worth living. And this, of course, tees up that classic debate for your mains answers. Where does judicial activism end and where does judicial overreach begin?
Just look at this timeline. It perfectly shows how our Constitution is a living, breathing document. I mean, check out this journey, from the right to livelihood back in '85, to the right to health in '96, and now, the right to safe travel. Each of these judgments expands what life actually means under Article 21. It shows how the judiciary is responding to what society needs right now. Okay, let's apply this same current to core thinking to technology.
All right, let's switch gears and head over to GS3. We're talking about a huge milestone in India's long-term energy strategy, the commissioning of the brand-new fast breeder reactor at Kalpakkam.
Now, to really get why this new reactor is such a big deal, you have to understand its foundation, India's visionary three-stage nuclear program. This whole plan was designed because India has very limited uranium, but we have one of the world's biggest reserves of thorium. The new fast breeder reactor at Kalpakkam is what finally kicks off Stage 2. And this is the critical step where we use our initial fuel to actually create more fuel from thorium. This is what paves the way for real energy independence and gives us a clean energy source, which is so crucial for meeting our climate goals.
But, and this is a big but, here's where you can get tripped up in the prelims. The keywords are super specific, and the examiners know exactly where the confusion is. It all comes down to that little word, first. So here's the pitfall you absolutely need to avoid. India's very first nuclear reactor, period, was Apsara. It was a small research reactor way back in 1956. The new reactor at Kalpakkam is the first commercial fast breeder reactor. It's a completely different kind of technology, and it marks the official beginning of Stage 2 of our big nuclear plan. So please don't mix them up.
For our final case study, let's turn our attention to GS1 Indian society. We're going to look at a growing and, frankly, paradoxical crisis that's hitting our cities. The double burden of malnutrition.
So what on earth is this double burden? Well, it's this crazy situation where undernutrition, things like stunting and wasting, exists right alongside overnutrition, which is obesity and being overweight. And it's happening in the same community, sometimes even in the same family. One is a problem of not having enough, the other is a problem of having too much, usually from cheap, ultra-processed foods. A huge pitfall here is to see them as two separate issues, when they're really just two sides of the same coin. Poor nutrition.
And this chart, it paints a really stark picture of the problem in Delhi. You can see a big chunk of kids are either stunted or wasted, while a totally different group is overweight or obese. This just proves it's not simply a problem of too few calories. It's a crisis of poor nutritional quality, something that our traditional food security measures like the public distribution system, which focuses on wheat and rice, really struggle to tackle on their own.
So, what's the way forward? Well, there are a few key strategies. We can definitely learn from what other countries are doing, like Chile's warning labels on junk food. Here at home, some possible solutions are regulating what's sold in school canteens and making front-of-pack food labeling mandatory. But the core idea, the big shift, is to move beyond just counting calories and start focusing on actual, genuine nourishment for our cities.
Okay, so we've walked through 3 different examples of how to connect the current to the core. We've looked at the event, we've found the foundation, and we've pointed out the pitfalls. Now it's time for you to test out that final step, the application. Take a good look at this potential mains question from GS2. It's based directly on that first topic we covered. Just think about how you'd structure an answer for this. You'd probably start with the evolution of Article 21, then analyze the Supreme Court's push towards enforcing these positive rights, and then critically examine what this all means for the government, for the executive and legislature. See? This is how you close the loop from just reading the news to actually writing a great answer. I want to leave you with a really powerful thought from the legendary photojournalist Raghu Rai. His advice on capturing that decisive moment is just perfect for this exam. Success here is all about making yourself completely available to the moment of preparation with every bit of your mental, physical, and spiritual focus. That right there, that's the mindset that turns today's learning into tomorrow's success.
If you're ready to really practice all 8 mains questions from today's news, and you want to get your hands on Prelims MCQs and detailed notes, go ahead and download the complete PDF. Just scan the QR code on your screen or use the link in the description to join our Telegram channel. Keep up the amazing work, stay consistent, and I will see you in the next explainer.